So, good morning all. So, I am continuing this ZeOmega presentation here. My topic is web application deployment. So, with this short time, I am going to cover very few fundamental things that you can watch out, or you can learn about this web application deployment. I do not think I can cover all the aspects, how you can, what are the things that in very detail. Okay. With this short span of time, I will just give a very high level overview of some of the things that is required for web application deployment. So, how many of you are working on web application development or deployment or things like, just I want to see how many of you are. Okay. I hope and how many of you are working on this mobile applications or anything like that, anybody? Right. So, even if it is mobile application, see most of the technology in the web server side, I am talking about the server side deployment. So, that means it is same, right, whether it is whether you are using web application or mobile applications or maybe some other. So, it is all ultimately it is a server side, it does have much difference. Okay. So, we will see few things. Okay, I have not mentioned my name. My name is Baiju. I work for ZeOmega as an architect. Right. So, first thing you just you required to deploy a website or web application is the domain registration. There are these are a few tips that you. How many of you on your own website or you purchased domain for your applications? Just can you raise your hands? Okay. Okay. So, some of the things that you can helpful is your domains, what you when you purchase it should be something memorable, that easy to type, short, avoid numbers and hyphens because it is not easy to type from mobiles and all, and choose appropriate TLDs, top level domains like .com, but these days it is very difficult to get .com. So, maybe you can go for .io. Okay. And one site or tool that you can use to check whether your domain is properly registered or whether that expiry date, it is Whois. Okay. How many of you tried this Whois site? Yeah. Before you, when you go and before you purchasing any domain or something, you can go and check this Whois record. So, Whois record is something like an official record of a particular domain, right. When you purchase a domain, so you are the owner. So, Whois will give that information. So, there are some websites like who.is or who.godaddy.com, or even you can use the Linux command called Whois, which is going to query that registry and show this information about when this site is that is going to show the who is the owner, who is the address to contact for the domain, and then details like that. Okay. So, that is going to be very useful, and especially the expiry date is very important. You should ensure that your site is not going to expire suddenly one day and your site is vanishing, and somebody else may purchase, that may make problem. Okay. So, next thing that you need to record is the DNS management. So, I mean the domain, once you purchase domain and you are owner, you need to use some DNS server, so that you can specify where is your backend server is located, and then all those that there are various types of DNS records. So, those all things you can manage using this DNS service, and the commercial or very popular ones are Amazon Route 53. You can use that Route 53 to manage your DNS, or you can use, there are some other things, service like Dan DNS. There is some free DNS servers. If you purchase your domain through GoDaddy, maybe you can use the GoDaddy DNS servers, but if you really want to scale for a very large, better to go for this kind of external services. Okay. And Cloudflare also gives some kind of free DNS, which is really good. So, I am going to give you this kind of very high level points, okay, going for next slides. So, if you have any questions, you can interrupt me. I hope I can take up the questions, one or two questions, and try to explain more about that. Okay. So, in the DNS again, there are few types of records that is very important. I just listed few things, that is A, address record, CNAME, that is canonical name records, and MX, mail exchange records, and text records. Okay. So, we will see few what are the things. So, A record is something that it is a 32-bit IP version address. So, this is one way you can directly specify that your domain is pointing to a particular machine. So, if you are using let us say DigitalOcean or Amazon website, they provide IP address. In the case of Amazon, there is something called elastic IP, that will be a public IP address. So, we can use that public IP address as the AR record value. So, that means whenever a request is somebody is trying to access the domain, this is the IP that is going to get resolved. Okay. So, this record is that, and to verify that you can use the command dig command. You can use whatever tools available, apt or yum, and you can install the dig command and then run like this dig -t a is the name of the type of the record, and then specify the domain, and it is going to show this where this domain is pointing to, right. So, here I am giving an example. If you type this command dig -a python.org, you can see that it is pointing to one IP address. So, that is where this Python server is located. Okay. Now, the next type of record is CNAME, that is alias record. So, that means for any type of record you can give an alias. So, normally people use like www dot something that could be kept as an alias. So, here in this example you can see that the www.python.org is pointing to something called Fastly. Fastly is a CDN content delivery network. So, that is a second type of record that is very commonly used. Then MX record is again very important. I just showed that MX records for ZeOmega.com. So, maybe from this itself we can see that we are using Google Apps for as our MT and mail. That means all mails are going to Google Apps, right. So, this record is helping you to manage specify what are my the SMTP mails are reaching, where it is going to reach out. So, this MX records, there are priorities. There is a column called that second last one, the 10.1.5. So, first priority is for that AP ASPMX.1.google.com, things like that. So, this is so that means in case if you are going to use Google Apps or maybe some other service. So, this is the record type that you need to modify and update to receive mails. Okay. And text record is another generic record. It is a general arbitrary human readable text record, but later it is also used for enforcing some other security mechanisms like SPF, DKIM for mail for protecting the mails and to avoid the spams and all. Okay. So, and it also sometimes it is used for verifying your domain. So, in case if you are using some service like Google Apps and all, they ask you ask you to add the text record, so that you can say that this domain is owned by me, because this all the records are adding by yourself. So, if some other service you are relying on, you need to prove that you are the owner, right. So, we can use this kind of TXT records for that also, okay, multi-purpose things. So, let us move on. So, what are the possible hosting? Okay. So, we seen that first you need to get a domain, and then you need a DNS manager. You can use free one or commercial, paid ones. And the next thing is you need somewhere to host this application. There are a lot of places available now if you want to host your applications. The first listed one, DigitalOcean. By the way, I am not really promoting any of this thing. You can, it's up to you to decide based on its criteria. DigitalOcean, I found it's very simple for very simple applications, but when if you really want to go very highly scalable product or anything, I don't think it meets all the requirements. Okay. Then better choices would be like Amazon Cloud, AWS, Amazon Cloud, or Google Cloud, or Microsoft Cloud, or Rackspace, things like that. Okay. Anyway, I am not spending much time. The next technology that is required for is for managing your application is load balancer. In this case, again there are a lot of choices available, even commercial one which I had mentioned. For example, if you are using Amazon Web Services, you can use their CloudFront service, that is one choice. Or if you are building your own load balancer, somebody was asking earlier that what is a load balancer. In fact, there is a module in Apache which I have not mentioned here, that is called Mode Proxy Balancer. That is what we are using as a load balancer for the Jiva. Okay. In this case, there are other options possible are this Nginx, which is a very good, and HA proxy. HA proxy is a generic load balancer. It can handle any kind of TCP. That means that includes HTTP also, right. So, so I will just show you a typical configuration how an Nginx configuration looks like for a if you want to balance lot of servers. I would suggest to go for Nginx if you are starting with a new deployment, and if you want to balance a lot of application servers, which is very lightweight, and even now they have a commercial support also in case if you want to scale to that extent. Okay. So, this Nginx, even Apache also, it will be pattern will be same. You just specify what are your backend servers. So, as you can see in the slide, I am specifying that upstream the tag. Under that, this is my domain api.example.com, and then within that, in this case I only mentioned server, one local IP and port number, but you can specify multiple port numbers or different IP address. So, that way all these servers will, by the way, by default it will take a one default algorithm, but they provide different algorithm for managing this backend services. Okay. And then if you are using SSL, you can specify the listening port, and then specify SSL certificates information. And then one crucial thing about this one is this, if you want capturing the real IP, you can use this set header x real IP. So, that means you can, somebody was asking earlier that how do we restrict based on the that was question is not really about this thing, maybe from if you want to prioritize based on things, or if you want to do throttling based on, if you want to mitigate some kind of DOS attacks, things like that, this kind of capturing information would be really important, so that your backend server can see those information. Sometimes some information will be get hidden. For example, in this case, if X real IP is missing, that means always your backend server will see that 127.0.0 that from all request is coming from the local host, which is not true. So, in those cases you can use this kind of additional setting, additional headers, and then you can rely on that from your backend service to know from where this request is originating. Okay. The same thing should be possible for other techniques, like if you want to understand whether the request is coming from your mobile front end or maybe it is coming from. So, maybe one technique could be like you can have an additional header set from your iOS, another header from Android, another from the web client. So, this way now you will come to know which is what, right. And also you can provide other rate limiting, so that way I mean all these things are possible. That means there are a lot of work involved in that to do the throttling, things like that. Okay. Just I will move forward. So, that is that means your load balancer is a key technology that you need to be aware of to do a proper web application deployment. Of course, the SSL certificate is very important these days. If you are deploying any website and all, that is something. It helps various ways to, if you are our application is more like a content management systems, and you want to be more your page ranking should grow more, SSL would be better. Google will respect that SSL and increase your page ranking. If you, imagine that a site without HTTPS and with HTTP. So, HTTPS site will get better page ranking. Okay. In other ways, it is helping you to secure this site. And again, purchasing domains, you need to either you can use GoDaddy, DigiCert. There are so many. These are the two popular ones, and there are so many other choices. And there is something coming up by next month that is called Let's Encrypt.org. Maybe you can note down that, so that in case if you want to buy a free SSL certificate, that is initiative from Mozilla and many other organizations. So, to make all the sites SSL, through SSL. So, that means you will get a free SSL through Let's Encrypt.org. Okay. It's they will be launching it by next month. That is my understanding. Then other things, other few technology that you need to be aware of, that content delivery networks for web application especially, or not only web applications. If you have a lot of media content, or things like JavaScript, CSS, or fonts, it's not a good idea to always make your application server exposing or receiving this request and then serving that content, right. So, it's not really required, because those contents may not. But when you are using CDN, again there are so many other things that you need to take care, especially about the expiry time, so that it is not going to be cached locally and it is not going to serve the old content. Anyway, so this so there are some. So, one of the other advantage with the CDNs are that it is going to reduce your latency. That means depending on the geographical location where you look at, the content will be served from that. That means in somebody from Korea, if he is accessing the content will be served from nearby Korea server, or if somewhere from Africa, the content will be served from Africa, like that. That means if your application is globally distributed, but in our organization we do not have that much distribution. So, we do not use any external CDN as of now, but this would be one of the things that you need to be aware when you are deploying your web applications. Of course, you need some support from your backend. It is not just a deployments all these problems what I am discussing about is not just a deployment problem. This your application should be designed, architected in such a way that it supports all these kind of features. Okay, especially with the CDN and all. See in the previous slide, I have used see this Nginx configuration. I used api.example.com, right. So that means if you are there is a restriction, that is your actual request cannot if any scripts cannot make a request to some other server by default through because of security. So that means, and if your content is serving from something like static some .com site, that will not be available, there will be a security restriction. So to avoid that, you need to use some other standards like CORS. In that case, cross origin request, I forgot exact full name. Okay. So in that case, you need more work in the application side also. So it is not just a deployment problem alone. However, I just keep mentioning all these kind of things so that you can watch out for this kind of things when you are handling deployment, even if it is a small application or large scale applications. Okay. So what are the other major things that you require? Of a configuration manager is a big thing. As your application is growing, you will be having lot of configuration to take care, manage. So in Python based tools are there available, things like Salt to Stack, Ansible. I think there are some talk going on about those things. Time's up. Okay. Sorry. Lunch break. Okay. I think I will stop right now because I think I cannot continue with this. There are few other couple more slides which was going to mentioning about few other technologies that is going to be useful for web application deployment. So what you can do is that you can come to our stall in ZeOmega. I will be there, and if you are interested to learn more about this, I am working as a DevOps, I mean development and operations handling. So that means I can answer more questions how we can do deployment, web application deployment. I will be very happy to help you on that. Okay. Thank you.